Guidance is suggested for the following program concerning subject matter of a sensitive nature.
It was the trial that seized the attention of the world.
He's facing multiple molestation charges.
The king of pop, facing years behind bars.
It was so stunning that I thought, he's in big trouble.
But Michael Jackson's high-powered legal defense team pulled out all stops.
The defense says, hey, it's not Jackson who was the predator. It was Jackson who was the prey.
It was a winning strategy. How did they do it?
You, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
It sparked a media feeding frenzy that lasted for months. More than 1,000 reporters from nearly 36 countries pitched in.
You, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of conspiracy.
And it climaxed on June 13th, 2005, with a stunning victory for Jackson on all counts.
We have a closet full of evidence that really made us always come back to the same thing. It was just not enough, you know.
I felt like we were really left in the dark about some things, and questions weren't answered, but we had to make do with what we had and the evidence that was given to us, and we did it.
And we came to the decision that pointed to reasonable doubt.
The scene of Michael Jackson's triumph was a far cry from where the story began. In a remote compound less than an hour's drive and a world away from the courthouse. There, Jackson lived in a remote ranch named for a place of childhood wonder. Neverland. It was a fantasy world, including an amusement park, zoo, and video arcade. Many children called it paradise, but others thought something sinister lurked in the shadows.
This world that is so opulent and beautiful, but paradoxically so strange and sometimes creepy. You know, it really is a reflection of Michael Jackson in many ways.
It was behind this slick veneer of childhood fantasy, in Michael Jackson's cluttered bedroom, that a crime was alleged to have happened. A crime against a child.
It was so stunning that I thought, he's in big trouble.
But in the end, the prosecution failed to prove its case, as some thought it would from the very beginning.
I think this is a terribly weak case. I think it's weak with the evidence. I think it's weaker without it.
The case began on November 18th, 2003, when Santa Barbara County officers raided Neverland. The search yielded a wide-ranging collection of pornographic magazines and books from Jackson's office, bedroom, bathroom, and under his bed. Court observers felt the pornography was an important part of the prosecution's case.
I think it's significant because it creates an atmosphere, or the impression of an atmosphere.
On November 20th, Jackson was arrested as his private plane landed in Santa Barbara. And in April of 2004, he was indicted on 10 counts, including lewd acts upon a child, administering an intoxicating agent to assist in a felony, and conspiracy. And so the life and career of a man who had so boldly labeled himself the king of pop would now be put on the line inside a courtroom in Santa Maria, California. These would be dark days for Michael Jackson, but it hadn't always been that way. Once, he had indeed ruled the music world.
At Michael's peak, he probably was worth in excess of $500 million.
But Jackson also mystified fans with his increasingly strange behavior.
You look at his physical appearance and how it's changed over the years, and you see why people call him Wacko Jacko. When there was the story that he wanted to buy the Elephant Man's bones, there was a story that he would sleep in a hyperbaric chamber. Look where he lives. He lives in a theme park. How much stranger can you be? He calls it Neverland. He thinks of himself as Peter Pan. To say he's normal would redefine the word normal.
In 1993, Jackson's behavior went from bizarre to troubling but a 13-year-old boy accused him of sexual abuse, evidence that would eventually become a centerpiece in the case against Michael Jackson.
I think if the judge had not allowed in the evidence of the prior accusations, you really wouldn't have seen much of a case here. It is the heart and soul of the prosecution's case.
The allegations in that case involved oral copulation, and that prompted the police to get a court order to force Michael Jackson to have photos taken, and they were compared, and they were dramatically very similar. There was certain blotch marks, certain discolorations on his penis, which basically the boy was able to identify. The implication obviously is, how could he have seen Michael Jackson naked but for a molestation or a situation that he shouldn't have been in?
In the wake of the 1993 accusations, Santa Barbara County Prosecutor Tom Sneddon prepared a criminal case against Jackson. But the singer reached an out-of-court settlement with his accuser for about $20 million.
Tom Sneddon was trumped by the civil settlement in 1993. I think he's really passionate about this case, perhaps too passionate, too close to this case.
I'm going to show you a photograph.
It's almost like the movie The Fugitive, you know? I think that he's been out to get this man, and he doesn't believe that there's the one-armed man out there. It's Michael Jackson's the guy he's been after.
I'm not one of these people that has a big problem with Tom Sneddon. This is a man who believes with all of his heart that Michael Jackson is a pedophile, and that he feels it's his job and his duty to do something about it, and be vigorous about it, and be determined about it.
The prosecutor's vigilance lasted nearly 10 years. In February 2003, suspicions that Michael might be a sexual predator were raised when Martin Bashir's documentary, Living with Michael Jackson, was broadcast in America. Michael defended his practice of sharing his bed with children, and was even seen holding hands with his eventual accuser.
That started a fire